it was a dark time for a lot of us. And it was just, I just had this moment of low.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome back to another episode of Break Room Banter.
It's a hairstylist adjacent podcast where each week,
Two friends
who also happen to be hairstylists,
break down our weeks in the break room. I'm your host, Hunter Walden.
and I am your hostess, Erica the Red.
And this week we have one of my friends on, Ben Barkworth.
He was awesome.
He's the founder of FASTFOILS as well as Just Be Salon.
And the unicorn palette.
The Unicorn Palette, B-Side Salon. I mean, it's a list.
Right? Yeah.
He is an entrepreneur.
Revolutionizing.
Revolutionizing the industry. He is just an incredible human.
I was going to say, and not only that, but he's an incredible guy. Super nice, easy to talk to, doesn't gatekeep. You know, we love that here in the break room. Yeah, it was a really good conversation, you guys. We talked about his journey before FASTFOILS. We talked about his journey launching FASTFOILS.
We even talked about like minimum order quantities whenever you're talking about launching a brand.
What it looks like to take something from the inside of your brain and actually make it a reality.
And even like the challenges that he faced while he was coming up with the brand. Some things that I didn't know about the brand. And stuff that honestly made me love the brand even more past the performance of the product, which is strong. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a really good episode.
I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Lots of tidbits for you guys.
So grab a notebook, take some notes, and enjoy this episode with Ben Barkworth. I'm excited to be having you on the podcast finally.
Thanks for having me.
I know, we've been talking about it for, 8 months?
So typically we start every episode off with our peaks and our pits, but this year, since it's the first of the year, we're going to start off with sharing some goals. Do you want to kick us off, Erica?
I will kick us off. I had to think about it ahead of time. And because I haven't actually sat down and done my actual goal setting yet, but I've been thinking about it. And so I'm going to tell you my personal goal is to get better with a routine. I have this new schedule that's kind of flippy-floppy back and forth. And so I have to establish a new routine in it, which routine is not something I'm good at anyways. So slowly but surely, that's my overall goal. So there'll be obviously lots of little goals inside of that. But
what about you, Ben?
Well, very similar actually. With everything that's going on and still being behind the chair, running a salon, and then growing a brand internationally, it's all about setting myself up for success personally, professionally, and making sure that everything is achievable. But also pushing those boundaries as well, but setting it up with the calendar, daily journaling, weekly journaling, and then making sure I'm set up for my week instead of being on the heel all the time because there's always so much going on. It's about looking and forecasting for the future so that there isn't any major surprises and that it's not 3 minutes before you're going on to a Zoom meeting and you're finishing the decks that you are, that's already done. It's taking that stress off your shoulders so you can handle other stressful loads and just reducing that amount of stress. And if you set yourself up for success, if that's looking at the calendar or I forecast 6 months out now. So that way I know if it's the salon, they can book in. They know when I'm going to be behind the chair. If I know what I'm traveling, I can already set my dates for that. So it's just all those kind of things. And then personally, mind, body, soul health. It's I'm going to the gym, yoga, meditation, and journaling personally as well. I think is really important just to make sure that you can offload some of those smaller things that run through your brain.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
And it can be hard to go to the gym and take time to meditate and all of that when you know that your to-do list is
1,000
a mile
miles
long.
Yeah.
Well, so that's going to be awesome for both of you guys.
All right, your turn, Hunty.
Oh, my turn? So my goals are mostly career. I I got married this year. So personally, I would like to grow that relationship deeper, stronger, all of those things. And career wise, I want to launch a couple things this year. So one of them being my education platform, which is almost complete.
Very cool.
And then just like a couple other things are in the pipeline, in the brain that are going on. So kind of like lifelong goal dreams that may or may not possibly get to happen this year. So
I'll put it in the ask, believe, receive column, and you can do it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so first question, I guess we're just going to dive right into it, is can you walk us through the process a little bit of like, how do you take an idea from your brain and then make it reality?
Yeah. A little bit of courage. It takes a lot of what Jay Ladner would say is audacity. But a lot of people come up with ideas, and there's a lot of great ideas that people have. A lot of people don't put it into the next action, and it's really about mapping out what that looks like. It's about doing a lot of research. It's product development and then all of those things. Like, is there something competitive in the market that you're trying to go up against? Is it something that you're innovating and changing or enhancing, like FASTFOILS? And it's about taking that risk and knowing that if you are going to start something, that you're going to see it through. There's no point coming up with a concept and kind of giving up when the tough gets going, because I'm telling you, it is going to be sleepless nights. There's going to be moments where you're like, I don't have a penny left. How are we going to get through? And it's those moments that make you stronger. But how does it work? I mean, it's about, honestly, vision boarding. It's about taking out and kind of taking off of the smaller things of that vision, starting small and then growing big, but then also looking at the big picture. And yeah, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people that can help support you, guide you, mentor you. There's going to be lots of questions that you're going to have along the way. And it's about surrounding yourself with the right people to help that dream come true.
I like that. So you would say like lots of networking is important because you got to get around those people. Absolutely.
And it's about taking that concept or that innovation and, really mapping it out. And what does it mean to you? And what is it that you want it to do in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years? And then it's about, coming up with that concept, branding, marketing, and launching at the right time when you've got all of those pieces of the puzzles together. I have made lots of mistakes along the way where they come and they may bite you in the bum later on, but if you don't make those mistakes, you're not going to learn for the future too. So it's okay to make mistakes, but when you're launching something, make sure that you're doing it right.
Make sure your purpose is there.
Absolutely.
And you're doing it for the right reasons. Yeah. So could you walk us through now a little bit of your journey before FASTFOILS? What led you to this point of FASTFOILS? Because FASTFOILS, like you mentioned, it's getting to be a worldwide salon name that you are using the foils. I've noticed over the last year, I will use the foils in class, and it went from, what are these foils that you're using, to, oh my God, those are FASTFOILS. I've wanted to try those for so long. And I'm like, oh, here, take the boxes. So can you lead us up a little bit to the development of FASTFOILS? Who was Ben before FASTFOILS?
So, I've been in the industry for 15 years now. Before I was even in hair, I was in hospitality. So everything I do in the salon, it's all about the guest experience from beginning to end. which is my hospitality background. I started off mentoring under John Taccone, who's an incredible artist out of Toronto. I worked with him for several years. And in 2015, I opened Just Be Salon in Toronto on Queen Street, which is a boutique hair salon, and it's be bold, be brave, be beautiful, just be. And it's about creating a space where people can be who they want to be, and it's our job to make them feel their best, whoever they are, identify as, and whatever look that they want to portray as being their most beautiful inside and out. So I've been running that since 2015. We've grown to a team of 12 now, I think. And we also opened B-Side Beauty, which was the other side of the beauty industry, which was manicures, pedicures, lashes, brows, makeup, and yeah, the other side of beauty. So we ran that for 7 years, and last year we actually sold that business so that we could focus more on FASTFOILS. And it was just, everything evolves, and sometimes you've got to make bandwidth within your brain space and your network of what you want to focus on, what you truly believe in. And we obviously believe in FASTFOILS, and we're taking it, and it's growing quite rapidly. So it was a great opportunity. We loved having the business. We loved our team, but we passed that on to new owners now. So before FASTFOILS, I was, educator with Scruples Hair Care. I was doing a lot of platform work, editorial work, and where it all came about is I had the opportunity of working at New York Fashion Week and London Fashion Week, and I was working backstage at London Fashion Week, and as most hairstylists do, wear black all day, every day. I was working backstage, and if you have the opportunity to be back there, it is crazy hot, it's crazy busy, the energy is amazing, it's hectic, it's energetic, it's so much fun. But with that, wearing black, all the tools, all the people, makeup artists, I was just so hot back there, and I was like, why do we do this to ourselves? Like, this is so hot. I know why we do, you want to blend into the background, it's not about us, we want to look uniform. But then I was like, this is creating warmth. And it was literally like a light went off. And I was like, wait a second. Can we produce an endothermic foil that has an ultra black coating that when living in a warm environment, it will help the lightener speed up its processing time? Because we know when lightener's living in a warm environment, it will do that. So I literally was like, bing, and then I get back to the plane. I write all these ideas down in my book. I always have a book with me. Doesn't matter where I am. I've got several of these books, just all my ideas and thoughts and journals. And I've probably got too many of them, but I just start writing all of my ideas down. And when I landed, I was like, this has got to exist. There's no way an endothermic. And I was like, wait a second, how's no one come out? And every time I talk to someone about it, this is genius. How has no one done this? And it gets back to your first question of how do you take that? So then we did a lot of product research. It took a lot of research to see if it did exist out there, and it wasn't popping up on my Google searches. So we dove deep in and realized that this is an opportunity for us to help the industry, to help stylists work smarter, not harder behind the chair. And then you come up with what does the branding and what does the name, and that's really important. And I mean, FASTFOILS stands for itself. It is a high performance foil that helps speed up processing time. And then maybe that manufactures hair foil. I mean, as a hairstylist behind the chair in a salon owner, I didn't know that. So I reached out to my network, and I was like, hey, you guys have a private label foil. Would you share their contact with me? And then we reached out to several other factories once we said, is this possible? And does this concept work? Then it was product testing, thermal testing, third-party testing with a lab to make sure that your concept that you think about is actually true. So that took about a year and a half of just all of that alone of the testing and coming up with that concept. So, and before that, I had the unicorn palette, So I already had a product company that was creating innovative products. It's called Just Be Professional Products. But we launched with the Unicorn palette, which is a palette that holds 6 different hair colors in one. It was designed for vivid colors. So if you're doing unicorn or multi-dimensional color. So we launched with that first. And unfortunately, the concept of FASTFOILS came at the same time I was launching Unicorn palette. And I was like, well, it's either one or the other. Like, what if someone comes up with this concept because it doesn't exist? So not that we put unicorn, we didn't stop Unicorn palette, but I had to put all of my energy into the concept of FASTFOILS. So we've actually now rebranded the Unicorn palette under the FASTFOILS family and umbrella. So that's going to be relaunched this year, which we're super excited about. So a long-winded question and answer, but that's where it started before, and that's where we're at now.
I love that, though.
I do too, and I like how you kind of laid that out of like, okay, you had the idea, then you went to someone that you knew was doing private label, and then you're doing your product research. I think a lot of people, like you said, everyone has ideas, but there's certain steps that you have to take to make this idea come from your brain into a product that we can sit and look at on this camera.
Yeah.
And so it's not something that everyone can have an idea, but it's not something that everyone can do. And when I think of you, what I think of, like, if I could think of one word that describes Ben, I would say consistent. Every time you speak about your mission, every time you tell someone what your purpose is or what your why is, first off, everyone in the room's listening, just in case you didn't know.
Thank you.
But I've been in a room where multiple people in different areas of our industry were asking you these questions, and your answer was always the same. And so having that purpose that drives you, that is consistent, is what's launching you forward so fast. While we're talking about that, though, has there been a moment that the momentum of the growth has scared you, or you're like, oh, what do I do? Or I'm not prepared for this. And how did you handle that?
Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So I'm going to start off by saying that we started the concept in 2018. 2019 was kind of the launch of FASTFOILS. And I had a business partner previous to where we are now. And him and I came up with the concept of the Unicorn palette. We were working, he does marketing, I do hair. And it was a collaboration between the two of us of this concept, and which is when we first took it to market. And we started, so my salon in Toronto, we started by warehousing FASTFOILS in the boiler room. And I think our first order was like 96 units of the 5x7 and 96 units of the 5x12. And, you know, the branding has changed a little bit since, and we'll get into the packaging and stuff like that. But that's how we started. And we started off by getting a direct-to-consumer website, and our website that has evolved over the couple of years since. And that's how we started doing FASTFOILS. We would literally get an order pop up on our phone, and it's like someone ordered a 5x12, and we would celebrate, and then we would put it into a bubble wrap, and we would send it off to, you know, Canada Mail, and it would get shipped out. And once in a while, an order would come through, and we'd be like, oh yeah, another order, great, you know, package it up, or I'd get one of the assistants to do it. And it's a full team effort at Just Be Salon. And it, you know, and it started to evolve, and then it was like, so what do we do from here? How do we want this to grow, or is this just a side hustle? And we're like, no, like, we really want to see this grow nationally and then internationally, to help stylists behind the chair. And then, you know, you start to run out of funds, and it's like, so who's funding it? This has been self-funded currently by myself and my partner. So this organization is solely owned by myself and my husband. There's been no shareholders, there's been no investors. So yeah, there's been moments. And the biggest moment, I would say, was the pandemic. You know, so 2019, we're launching, our biggest goal was 2020. Let's go, let's expand it, let's get influencers, so talking to our mentors and talking to industry leaders about how do we do this. And the goal was for 2020. And then that's when it was like, okay, the salon had been closed for 13 months. Business partner was like, I'm done, I'm over it. I'm like, well, I still think it has legs. So I had to make that decision of, do I want to close this or do I want to continue with it, knowing that I haven't worked in 13 months and, well, at that point, probably 6 months. So no income, got a product line that hasn't had any sales in 6 months because no one's open. And we didn't have the brand awareness yet. So it was like, well, what do you do? And I was like, no. I said, this brand has legs. This is what I want to do. And it was that moment where you had to look yourself in the mirror and go, are we going all in? And that's when I was like, well, I'm not working. What am I doing? I'm playing PlayStation and I'm like going for walks in the park. I've been like, okay, I'm going crazy here. And I was like, you have a business and a brand that is waiting for you. And that's when the new concept of FASTFOILS came through. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this on myself. And since then, it's been steady growth through 2021. And then 2022 was the big impact of another big moment was, we knew that our old packaging and our old concept wasn't going to be feasible for national growth when it comes to margins. So can we find a different manufacturing facility? Can we do different packaging? And how do we develop that so that we can be readily more available cost effectively across the board, getting into distribution, so then we had to then look at new manufacturing, do more testing, do product development with different factory options. And then it's okay, so where does that funding come from? And so, yeah, I mean, along the way, it's been quite a few of those moments. And, do you take it internationally? Do you stop and just be humble with keeping it within North America? Or do you want to spread the message to help stylists worldwide? And there'll always those dips and those flows.
That's crazy. So one of the questions I had on here for you was like, talk to me about challenges, but like, I did not realize that you started this before the pandemic. And so I kind of want to go back a little bit in everything that you just said. And you said that was like a pivotal moment for you. You had this business partner that didn't want to have anything to do with it. So you said you ended up going at it kind of on your own and you rebranded a little bit, or like, talk to me about that time. Like, what made you not want to give up, know that you could do this, even in the middle of a pandemic, like, and okay, I'm going to go this direction, and I think that's going to work. Because, like, I have lots of ideas in my head all the time, too, right? And I always want to make them happen. But then I'm thinking, being faced with something like the pandemic, I wanted to give up on everything during the pandemic, let alone something like this. So I'm curious, and, like, what went on inside of your own brain? Was it just really like belief in the concept, or was it like, I know I can make these changes in business regardless of this happening, so I'm confident that I can do it?
Well, I'm going to first off by saying you were not alone. I was doing nothing. I would go into the salon just to like clean and just to get out of the house. And it was just very depressing. So I stopped going in. And it was a dark time for a lot of us. And it was just, I just had this moment of quite low. And I was just like, wait a second, like, what are you doing? You help yourself. Like you've got this brand that's sitting in your boiler room that works. that you know can make a difference. And when someone comes to you and says, I'm out, and you go, wait a second, I'm going to go all in because I believe in this product so much. And I know that we can make a difference for this industry going forward. It was just like, dig your heels in. And then it gave me inspiration to wake up every day, to have something to do. And we had to look at we had to literally go back to square one. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Where do we want it to be? How do we want to get it there? And who do we want to work with to do that? And yeah, I mean, the whiteboard, it was like, literally, it was like, let's wipe it clean. What do we want this to look like? Because right now it's 0. But we have a factory and we have the product. And then it was a lot of mapping out. I mean, and I'm so fortunate that I have an amazing husband and business partner that supports me with all of my endeavors. And he's now full-time with us and is our director of operations. And he makes sure that everything is taken care of to allow me to do what I do. And he works with all of the team. And it was, making sure that he believed in the product too and believed in the path. And yeah, it was a lot, but I'm glad we did it.
Were you guys business partners in the salon as well, or did he have a full-time job that he was like, no, you know what? I believe in you so much. Let's do this together.
Well, he had a full-time job. Then I opened the salon. And then he realized as we're growing the salon to where it's at, that he had to help out more. So he stepped back at his full-time career. And then I decided that we needed to take over the lease next door and open B-Side Beauty. At that point, he'd gone back to another career. And then 6 months into that, he realized that baby needed him as well. So then he quit his job and then came full-time for B-Side Beauty. He got that stable and on its feet, went back to another career, with same industry, but a different job. And then as of this year, he also did the same thing. So as of this year, he left his full-time career again to work with us full-time.
Sounds like he did a lot for you guys.
Yeah. I feel like that story that you shared just then about how low of a place you were in during the pandemic honestly strengthens the message of the brand for me personally. Is this package of foils brought you from your lowest place that you've been and gave you a purpose again, and it brought you into my life. It brought you into so many people's lives that you've enriched our lives just because you didn't give up. And it has such a powerful message already. Adding that on top of it, my hair is still standing up on my arms. You just gave me goosebumps from when you told the story earlier.
I was going to say, not only that, but obviously, it works because you are that confident in it through such a rough time, too.
Yeah, and there'll be times where you will be faced with times where you may have to throw in the towel. But if you believe in it enough and believe in the message enough, you will find ways to succeed. And you will find avenues and different ways to make sure that you can continue. And it still happens. I mean, growth is constantly happening. And how do you make those hurdles? And those hurdles get bigger and the commitments get bigger. But it's so exciting. And I'm so passionate about it. And I love doing it. I love waking up every day. I just had a week off. And today's actually my first day back in the office. And I was so excited to get up this morning. I could hardly sleep last night. Because
that's so cute.
I mean, time off is good. We need it. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline for 2024. So we're super excited.
So we've talked a lot about the financials of it. what was the reality of actually starting the brand? So did you have a budget in your mind, and then how much did you exceed that budget?
No, you don't have a budget in mind. I mean, and this is where Rom coming into the picture really helps, because I'm artistic, I have visions, I'm a yes man, and I don't really look at the balance sheet as much as I didn't used to look at the balance sheet, as like I do now. But yeah, I mean, when you know that you've got something and you're like, okay, well, that's going to cost X amount. And it's going to be probably 4 times as much than you think every time. And the first 2 years, it was yes. What are we doing? Yes. Oh, it's going to be that? Yes. And you just have to find ways to do it. And I mean, that's part of it, is believing in it, is that you're going to go in debt. And sometimes a lot of debt. But when it comes to budgeting, I mean, I've already been fortunate to run restaurants. I've been fortunate to be running 2 successful salons and beauty businesses. So we already had ideas of, balance sheets and having to put a spreadsheet together for budgeting. But when it came to, for example, when we changed our packaging and launched so we could get more international past couple of years, you have to invest in years worth of product, in inventory, that is containers worth that get shipped over.
I think people don't know about like minimum order quantities when you're talking about private label items. It's something that I just recently learned trying to make a dream happen. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait, you mean to tell me that I need to buy 100,000 of these? I don't need that many. I don't know that many people. So can we talk a little bit about that? Like minimum order quantities, and how did you learn all of these things? Just as you go?
Honestly, tenacity, research, audacity. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our first order was like a white label product with the technology behind it. So it wasn't black label. But we could do smaller quantities. Like I said, we started with 96 as a trial run test. Like, can we do this? And then we knew that if to hit certain amount of margins that it cost, we had to hit a minimum order quantity. One of the biggest reasons for actually us moving facilities wasn't actually, I mean, cost was one thing. It was actually to be more environmentally friendly with the pre-cuts. It was the packaging. Our old manufacturer couldn't do box like we wanted to have, like our current packaging. But also we couldn't do roll format. So we wanted to be able to, because not everybody's a pre-cut lover, and we wanted to be able to do a roll format. So that was one of our biggest reasons, was environmentally friendly, but then also that we could expand our portfolio for the roll lovers. But yeah, minimum order quantity, I mean, we're talking, you have to order hundreds of thousands. I mean, now we have our own manufacturing facility that manufactures it for us, but we do have to have minimum order quantities, and that's an investment that you're never going to get back, because you are always going to have that inventory somewhere. So that's an investment that for the future that will always have to be there, and it will always grow. So you will have to have product that is sitting there, that is money sitting on a shelf, which is...
I was actually going to ask that question next. Was you have changed the packaging of the pre-cuts already, and there's some like new things coming along as well. So when you're talking about all of that, you're sending out new orders of new packaging. What happens to all of your old packaging that you have sitting there? And is it a loss, or are you able to balance that out with running a sale or sending these out to your influencers or your ambassadors, or how do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, there's several ways of doing it. You can do old stock sales. You can utilize it when doing hair shows. You can utilize it with your team. You can utilize it with ambassadors, influencers. But you also want them to be using the most current tools and the most current product as well. So it's kind of like a balance of the two. I mean, when we did our first hair show in June last year. So our first hair show to market was Orlando Premiere, and then we did ISSE in Long Beach, and we had placed an order, and we changed our product and manufacturing facility last September. So all of this has happened in the past 13 months, I guess. Oh no, it was 2021. Sorry, it wasn't last year. So it's been 18 months. And yeah, we ordered all of this new product to be coming in for the shows to make sure that we had it in stock. And then it was like, oh, we're now going to be changing all of this. So we did get stuck with a lot of product. I mean, I'm fortunate that once again, I own a salon. So Just Be Salon uses all the old products still.
Your assistants will be glad for the day they don't have to separate foil and paper.
Absolutely.
Right.
But it is something that you have to then, put into your margins and your balance sheet as well.
So, first of all, I just want to say thank you for removing the paper from the packaging.
You're welcome.
Because I love that improvement. Second of all, I am curious. Obviously, you're super passionate about this. What has been the biggest reward in doing this that maybe you weren't anticipating?
The ability. Oh, there's so many. The ability to make a difference to the industry and artist behind the chair, I would say, is number one. That's the most rewarding. Very close second is the people that I have met along the way. I just got goosebumps shivering down my spine. Just the people that I've met, you two. So many artists that I've now had the opportunity to work with, inspire, educate, mentors that I've always looked up to that I'm now working with, that I wouldn't have had those opportunities before. So that the network and just the ability to come out of this with a different mindset as well is probably the second most rewarding.
I love that answer. That's great. Because I think sometimes when you go through stuff like this, there's stuff along the way that like maybe you think it's going to go one way and it's not going to go that way, but you don't know how it's going to go. So I just was curious, like what you weren't expecting, like you said.
So one thing I will say though, is I never did it for the money. I have a passion. I have a career. I love doing what I do behind the chair. I get asked all the time, will you give up being behind the chair? The answer is no. I love being behind the chair. So it wasn't that I wanted to do it for a paycheck. I wanted to do it to make a difference. So that's never been the driving passion of why I do FASTFOILS. The driving passion is to work with different people, different artists, to help stylists, to help salons. And it works. And we're the first foil manufacturer to come up with a full education platform that teaches stylists how to install more efficiently with our patterns and placements, having a full in-depth color knowledge course to learn about underlying pigment weight. And we have all of this, and it's about building the industry, because it's up to my generation and our generation to help our generation, the new generation, and inspire the older generation that if it's not for us, then who is it that's going to be inspiring and educating? So yeah, I just think that's kind of the drive and passion and purpose behind it as well.
I love that.
I admire how FASTFOILS, as you said, it's the only foil company that has this education platform. But I also admire the fact that FASTFOILS is working with these outlandishly named stylists. Mm-hmm. You have Ashley Norman, you have Jay Ladner, Rebecca Taylor. All of these iconic people are working for you, and you're also still giving opportunities to the younger generation that aspires to be that. And you're not gatekeeping. You've not gatekeeped a single thing from anyone. This is the room that everyone is welcome. Everyone is here on the same level, the same playing field. And we're all here to create and to inspire together. And there's no hierarchy or, well, this person has this name, so we're going to do exactly what this person says. No, it is a collaborative effort. Anytime FASTFOIL's name is involved, you know that it's going to be a safe space where you're going to feel welcomed. You're not going to feel shut down or anything like that.
Well, I know when I came to the show with Hunter that I was like so nervous coming in and even being around you guys. And I just had such a great, like, it kind of floored me and changed my life a little bit, actually. At the time, I was not in the greatest place personally. And like, I came back from it impacted just being around, like, not even on the crew, but just around the crew, because it really was like an egoless, sharing, warm, kind, encouraging environment, which it isn't always.
I think thank you for that. And yeah, everybody is always welcome. And if there is artists out there that want to be part of the team, reach out to us on Instagram, obviously at FASTFOILS, because we want to see your work. We want to work with you. You know, like you said, we've got top tier names and we've got people inspiring to be, you know, work with us. I have been left out and have those gates closed and walls built up that people won't let you in. And at FASTFOILS, we will never be that brand. Part of our mission statement that everyone is always welcome. And that's part of it too, is making sure that people do feel welcome. If it's supporting at a show, if it's us sharing your content, ambassadors, influencers, educators, platform artists, and it's a collaborative that we all work together. Hunter had the opportunity to join us for a photo shoot that has now been printed internationally, which is super exciting. So yeah, lots more to come.
I think the biggest thing I would like for people to take away from this is that, yes, it is a foil. You're installing highlights, however you happen to use them, but it's so much more than a foil. It's a purpose. We now know the full purpose, it's a community, the mission. Not just it's a foil. Community. It's not just a foil. And the message is powerful, and I can't wait for people to hear it. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I would have you every week. If you wanted to come in every week, we'll just do a threesome every week.
Recurring guest. You can have a segment.
I love that.
So Ben, tell us, where can the people find you?
So we have distribution in North America, and we are super excited to announce that we will be international in the UK and in Italy as of February. So we have grown internationally with our distribution partners. You also can find it at fastfoils.ca. Which if you want to buy online, that's also possible. It's where all of our education lives, all the product knowledge lives. So Instagram is at FASTFOILS. And then fastfoils.ca, because we are a Canadian company and we do celebrate that, for all of your information for FASTFOILS.
Love it.
Love it. If you want to find us on social media, I'm at Herrick's Hunter on all the things.
I am Erica the Redhead on all the things.
Our podcast is at Break Room Banter Pod on all the things. And if you want to find additional ways to support us, you can follow us on Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/Break Room Banter Pod. And until next time, remember,
you always have a seat at our table.
Bye. Bye.